Mr. Tommaso Di Bartolo, the CEO of Awesome Ventures, to share his thoughts on AI industry trends over the next decade from the perspective of overseas capital. Please welcome.
Thank you so much. By the way, your Italian accent is awesome, outstanding. You pronounce my name like an Italian dude. So, how are you guys doing today? You know what's the most challenging phase for a speaker to speak around 3 p.m. in the afternoon? After the digestion is kicking in, right? And you get sleepy, and we have 40 degrees, which I feel like at home. I'm from Sicily, by the way.
Now if you speak Chinese.
Come again?
If you speak Chinese.
Chinese is, I speak 6 languages, but Chinese is still not one that I do. Come again?
It's going to be the 7th.
The 7th, maybe. So thank you so much for being here and having me here today in Chengdu. I've been here for the last 4 or 5 days. Now I would like to get a sense here before I start talking about my view on artificial intelligence. Who of you here in the audience is in the startup business, in the startup world? Raise your hands, please. Okay. Who of you is in the government? Government is pretty big here. Raise your hands. Government, one. I had the pleasure already. Only one person. Okay, now I'm getting really curious what you all do here. Who is in the industry? Industry, any kind of industry. Any kind of industry. Who is a student? Awesome. Well, I would like to get a sense because AI applies to everybody. And now, let's do the following, right? I like to interact with my audience. You were excited maybe to have basically feedback and content from my side. I'm excited actually to meet you guys. So whenever I'm going to do this, watch out, you're going to say, wow. And I chose a word that everybody can say, we need no translation on that, right? So let's try it out. Wow. Okay, so watch out when I'm going to do this. It's going to be wow, okay? And the topic is going to be around AI. Let me start out to talk about the topic of artificial intelligence, but in which situation? Artificial intelligence that drives the next generation experiences for all of us on the go, for the human being on the go. And before I start out talking about this topic, I would like to give you a very short introduction about myself. From a geographical perspective, as you may know here on my name, or you may see on my name, I'm born and raised in Italy. I lived 17 years in Germany. I lived a year in London. And since 2010, I do live in Silicon Valley. Married, 2 kids. And in order to confuse it all, my wife is from Brazil. Okay? In fact, for the World Cup, we don't talk to each other. My kids were born in Germany, right? Therefore German. My wife is from Brazil, I'm obviously from Italy, so there is basically pause. I'm a tech guy. I did 4 startups, had 2 exits. Since the year 2000, I've been doing startups, 3 in enterprise business, the last one in consumer business. What I love doing, especially in Silicon Valley, is sharing the lessons learned on the journey as an entrepreneur. I do it by writing, I do it by mentoring, and this year I'm super excited. I'm going to bring out my first book, actually. It's around the topic of growth hacking. It's basically a methodology on how to bring innovation to market, basically helping other entrepreneurs bringing innovation to market in a very agile way. Who of you has heard of the topic of growth hacking? Raise your hand. Anybody growth hacking? 2, 3 people? Wow, okay, you can buy Suma and book, okay? And what I do in Silicon Valley also beyond the writing is mentoring and being part of different startup initiatives. A couple of startup initiatives that are globally known are those such as the Google Launchpad or the one from The Alchemist, who is a very renowned B2B accelerator program, right? And I'm also very excited to be frequent guest lecturer at universities in California, especially Berkeley and Stanford. Now, what am I doing for a living? Awesome Ventures is what I founded 3 years ago. I'm founding partner at Awesome Ventures. Real quick, what is Awesome Ventures? Awesome Ventures is an early stage investment firm. Yes, we put money into startups. What kind of startups? Startups that are data-driven, AI startups, okay? But I want to specify it even more because we have a very clear focus. We invest in startups that solve a problem in the mobility industry. Now, mobility to us has 5 subcategories: automotive, aviation, maritime, railroad, and oil and energy. And because every product and every service must have a differentiation, must be different, must be unique. What is our differentiator? We don't just invest money like every other person does. We have reverse engineered our go-to-market approach. We don't put just money directly right away into startups, but we primarily and foremost collaborate with global corporations in the industry of mobility in order to understand their challenges. And by understanding their challenges, we become their trusted partner. We become their Silicon Valley-based trusted partners that guides them towards innovation. Okay? And then basically we bring them solutions in form of startups, and based on what works and what doesn't, we run a lot of POCs. We help entrepreneurs run POCs. We basically decide on investments. And with that, we mitigate our risk. Now let me see if you're awake.
Wow.
No, I got you. Again.
Wow.
Okay, I want to keep you awake, guys, you know? It's not fair, and you guys take it out. So, but, you know, let me give you a story here around artificial intelligence. Who of you knows SpaceX, the airline SpaceX BFR? Raise your hand. So SpaceX BFR is the airline that I took, by the way, the first time here in China. And I said, what's the fastest way to fly to China? And I saw SpaceX BFR. It took me just 35 minutes. Yes, you heard correctly, and you translated also correctly. 35 minutes from San Francisco, that's to Beijing was my first stop, right? And this SpaceX BFR allows you to travel in a very fast mode around the globe. Once I landed in Beijing, ladies and gentlemen, I had a throwback. I said, wow, a couple years ago, this same flight would have taken me 13 hours plus, which would have been very stressful. But no, now we have the ability to fly very fast. And not only that, let me continue my story. I stepped out of the plane, and once I went through the airport, there was already my subscription ride-hailing service, my shared services, my car, my Byton, my autonomous Byton, waiting for me. Why? Because I'm subscribed to the Byton Global Network, an autonomous Byton Global Network, that basically allows me on every single city on Earth just to take and make use of Byton wherever they are. Now, the beauty that I had is, you know, in Silicon Valley where I'm based, we usually don't dress like this. You know? We have t-shirts, you know, we have shorts, right? And when I went in the plane, I said, shoot, I forgot my shirt. So what I did in the plane is, I brought and I purchased on Alibaba a blue shirt like this, because I knew that I'm going to wear this trousers, right? So I said, blue shirt. But Alibaba works together with Byton. So the Byton car, ladies and gentlemen, went and bought the shirt for me. So when I basically got into the car, the first thing that I did is ask, hey Byton, do you have my shirt? Yes, I have your shirt. Boom! I had another throwback, ladies and gentlemen. A couple years ago, for somebody coming for the first time to China, you know what this would have meant? I would have had to rent a car. I don't speak the languages, so I would have some challenges. Negotiate with them, okay? Then get in the car, in a city I don't know, towards a shopping center I don't know, in a place I don't know, find it, basically back that in the car, and towards the location that I'm basically headed towards. So I would have never done it, I would have never reached in time, right? What does it mean? Now with the service of an autonomous car, the car becomes utility to us. And not only that, it basically has a 0% collision rate. Why? Because artificial intelligence, autonomous driving, is way more secure, it's way more safer than basically me driving, especially in another city. And yes, as you may have figured, this is all a story in the future, but I would like to welcome you, based on the topic of artificial intelligence, on a day in the life of a passenger in 2050. Now, 5 key takeaways, 5 key learnings that I would like here to point out that we have on this story. Learning number 1. What's the learning number 1? Learning number 1 is that we have 130 years of an industry. 130 years. You awake? 130 years, a lot, right? 130 years of an industry being disrupted right now. Automotive, aviation, maritime, railroad, and oil and energy. But why right now? If you ask yourself, why is it being disrupted right now? What are the moving forces that are disrupting the mobility industry right now? Let me expand on a couple of those. Number 1, moving force number 1, the mobility industry is being disrupted right now because of more bigger becoming mega cities. So we are moving more and more to this humongous big city, right? And causing congestion so that the cities have to reinvent themselves and the transport has to reinvent themselves and basically create better experiences. As a consequence, huge pollution, right? Impacting our health. That's the second reason why it's being disrupted. The third reason is the aging population that basically screams and requires a new, more customized transportation method. The fourth reason why mobility is being disrupted right now is because we are all connected with our devices. So we are becoming, and we're starting having the same expectation of being connected. We bring the same expectation, the same habit towards the vehicle, right? We expect the vehicle to be connected and transforming the vehicle into a new device. And the last reason is because the shared economy. We are moving basically from an economy of owning things. The new generation, Generation Y, Generation Z, okay? They don't want to own anything anymore, and they don't want to buy anything anymore. They want basically to have access and share things, right? These are the moving forces. Learning number 2 on my trip, on my story here to China, is that the Byton car that picked me up was an autonomous car. Meaning, by being autonomous, it basically transforms the transportation business becoming into a utility business, serving us on a daily basis. Connected. Remember the story. Through Alibaba, I ordered my shirt, which was connected basically with the Byton network that organized with the e-commerce or that organized with the retail store to make my shirt available. So connected, right? And last but not least, the car, it's so affordable on a subscription basis because I am capable of sharing it with others, right? That's the sharing economy, right? So this is the learning number 2 out of the story. But what is at the center of this autonomous, connected, and electrified trend that we are seeing? Well, ladies and gentlemen, at the center of all this, we have data. In fact, statistics show that in the year 2020, the daily generation of data is going to be on the internet of 1.5 gigabytes. So the internet user is going to produce 1.5 gigabyte compared to the vehicle, it's going to be 4 terabyte. In other words, we are creating a new device that is basically working completely on data. Yes, data is becoming the new asset. Data is becoming the new oil. Learning number 3. You're awake? Oh. You're awake. Amazing. Shane Dong. Good for you. So, learning number 3. Learning number 3 is that the manufacturers in the mobility industry are shifting from a mentality of focusing on a vehicle towards a strategy on focusing on a user experience. What does that mean? It means that instead of focusing on design and focusing on features, we are focusing now, the manufacturers are focusing now on how we feel. in order to create a better experience. Now let me expand on this, on how we feel when we go from A to B. What is the end-to-end experiences? So manufacturers don't see no longer the product as the vehicle, but the complete experiences, end-to-end experiences. Does it make sense, yes or no?
Yes.
Let me repeat it again, you translate it? Does it make sense, yes or no?
Yes.
Awesome. Learning number 4, the second last learning here of my story. Now, the story is about an autonomous car that is connected and electrified. Now, I was not driving, right? So the car was driving because it was autonomous. It was driving me safely and comfortably from A to B. Now, because I was not driving, this applies in the future to all of us. Have you thought of this? We're not going to be driving, we're going to be in the passenger seat. And because we're going to be in the passenger seat, we are going to win back one factor that we don't have no more today. What is it? Time. We are going to have time again while we're driving in the experience. So what kind of time? What are we doing with the time, right? We are shopping, we're buying, we're reading, we're consuming content. Last time I did this presentation, I did it in Brazil, and I said women are doing manicure and pedicure, right, in time. My friend here, Jeromeo, doesn't, right? They do it a lot there in Brazil, right? So with time, basically, we are activating and spending dollars. That's the reason why I would like to welcome today here the new economy, which is the passenger economy. Did you know, ladies and gentlemen, that the passenger economy, based on a study with Intel Strategy Analytics, is going to be 7 trillion by 2050. And the breakdown is going to be that 3 trillions of those, 3 trillions. The first time that I read it, I was not capable of writing trillions. I don't know about you guys. You know about writing trillions. Anyhow, so $3 trillion in B2B businesses from the passenger economy. $3.8 billion in the consumer business. Okay? Any consumer business. And then we have another $200 billion, $0.2 trillion, okay, of new services that today, as we are here in this room, we don't even know about. Now let me talk about the allocation of shares in the market, okay? Roughly the Americas will benefit from this economy with 30%, Asia / primarily with China, almost 50%, and we in Europe, we have only 25% of the passenger economy. So my last point that as a learning here, from the story of Tommaso going to China, leveraging AI, is that, first of all, as I introduced myself, I'm from Europe, I live in the United States. I did not go to Europe for a talk. I came to China for a talk. Why? Because in China, today, attracts more and more and more. And the second point here is that my car was a Viton made here. As an Italian, I should have ordered a Ferrari, but I didn't, right? I ordered a Viton. Why did I order a Viton? Because basically of the more advanced technology. Meaning what? In the year 2017, for the first time, United States is on second place behind China in terms of shares, investment shares, for the market of artificial intelligence. And in fact, China has almost 48%, almost 50%. Meaning, and this is not a coincidence, I basically looked it up and said, why is it that way? We heard it today in the opening keynotes, right? Because for you, artificial intelligence became a governmental decision. You have decided to become the leaders in artificial intelligence, and this is basically issued in 2017. Meaning, basically, if you wanted a business in artificial intelligence, China is becoming a very relevant partner to consider. But what does it all mean? what I discussed here. What are all these 5 learnings here? Right? What are the learnings again? The learnings are, first learning was an industry being disrupted. Second learning, artificial, autonomous, connected, electrified vehicles that basically generate a lot of data. With data we have better experiences. Third point. Then we have more time, okay, to spend dollars or money in general. And China is driving the economy. Actually, let me phrase a different question here. It's not what does it mean. The question here that I would like to challenge you guys when you are on your way home is, we are in the year 2018. Tommaso presented something of the year 2050. What is it that we need to do today? What is it that needs to happen now? What are the activities, the strategies that need to be deployed and run today in order to make and create a user experience, an experience for the mankind on the go by leveraging artificial intelligence? And this is what needs to happen. What needs to happen and what's happening are massive collaborations on data level. Now let me expand a second on that. Today, data is intellectual property. Any corporation, regardless what size, from a startup perspective up to a global corporation, if you say, oh, let me take a look at your data, this is intellectual property. Nobody wants to give access to data. Does that make sense? Now we're basically changing our mindset, our culture, to make that data available to others in order to do what? In order to create better experiences based on AI. Okay, what kind of collaboration am I talking about? These collaborations will look like collaborations that maybe at the beginning they don't make really sense or they are not very clear. Like for instance, Intel cooperating with who? With Warner Brothers to do what? Well, guess what? The future of entertainment in the car. Okay? Or NVIDIA, 320 plus collaborations with a variety of ecosystems, track makers, tier 1 suppliers, car makers, etc. Right? So collaborations will define and create new experiences. These new experiences we will see in the future more and more startups collaborating with not only the mobility industry, but the mobility industry at the same time, collaborating with the education industry, wellness industry, e-commerce industry, in order to have handshake agreements based on data to create new services for the mankind on the go. And that's the reason why in Awesome Ventures we primarily focus on collaborating with those global corporations to guide them towards an AI-based solution. And with that, I would like to thank you. Who of you is on WeChat? Raise your hands. This is now the moment. Oh, by the way, if you take pictures, you have to tell me to take pictures so I can make a post, right? Joke aside, thank you for the attention, ladies and gentlemen. It was fun. Share.
Thank you. Thank you very much. One of my told me that Mr. Tony Starks was really wonderful when he was giving the speech, telling us there's only 25 minutes traveling from United States, 35 minutes from Beijing to United States. And you really like Mr. Tony Starks, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you.
开个玩笑啊，刚才我朋友说这个，刚才我们演讲这位嘉宾长得很像钢铁侠，说钢铁侠放大招，从美国到中国只